Good afternoon, one and all, and thank you again for joining us on this not so sunny Wednesday afternoon. I think we've had some fantastic weather of late, so no excuses for missing this one today for sitting in the sunshine. I'm Steve Bailey, UK and Ireland Sales Manager. Today I have with me Daniel Marsh, UK Sales Engineer for the North of England. Hello, Danny.
Hi there, Steve. Thanks for having me today, and thanks for joining everybody.
And our guest speaker today is Damien Hodkinson. I've actually left his company off there. Apologies, Damien, from Stockport NBC. Hello, Damien.
Hi, Steve. Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, I'm from what would normally be sunny Stockport in Greater Manchester, just in case anybody's not heard of us.
Thanks, Damien. Appreciate that. So today we're going to carry on talking about the MSP Evolve campaign from Zyxel. The title is, why now is the right time for remote management, and it's obviously looking at embracing the managed services opportunity and looking how you can use network as a service. We're also going to encapsulate what's really happened in the market over the last sort of 9 to 10 weeks. So we were creating a view of the traditional market, traditional selling, and why moving to an MSP is the right model, the right move forwards to carry on surviving in this industry. But really, I think the speed of what's happened in the last 9-10 weeks has really driving this message home even more. Why remote management is required. But before we go into that, a very quick reminder, again, we like to keep things very simple here and straightforward, and break down any terminologies and acronyms that flow very through our little IT channel of what an MSP is. So definition of a MSP is a managed service provider. So an MSP is a reseller that doesn't just offer hardware, but also offers a service too. It can be anything like pre-sales work, audit or wireless survey, pre-configuration, installation of hardware, proactive monitoring support, data backup, support contracts, and many more. That's just some of the sort of examples to services you can offer. Pretty much anything that generates a revenue providing a service makes you a managed service provider. But why is it needed, and why is it becoming more and more necessary? Why is there a need to evolve? So here I'm going to look at the current market conditions, or the general current market conditions before the COVID epidemic hit the globe. The potential obstacles that resellers have shared in worries and fears of becoming an MSP, and then the benefits and the resolve really that working with Zyxel can assist you to go out and sell as an MSP as well. So current market conditions, again, I'm not going to read every single point out. Everyone's capable of reading the notes on there. I'll pick out some of the key ones. Again, these are ones that have come up with conversations with customers about main points of concern or issues. So less margin in hardware. As time has gone along, there's been less and less margin in hardware. I'm lucky enough to be old enough to experience when there used to be good margin in hardware, but nowadays there just isn't. Geographical locations. Many historical customers selling Zyxel have been really sort of tied into their local area. They've had great demand in their local area, and there's always been fear and worry about expanding further. So the limitations, potential fears of cost of sending engineers out further on sites just can't be factored into budgeting as well. And of course, e-commerce pressure. We live in a world today that e-commerce can't be ignored. The likes of Amazon, specialist e-tailers, genre e-tailers offering every type of product you can offer out there. The battle against e-commerce is it's been fraught, I'd say, for many years now. Some resellers have embraced it, some have fought it. Other resellers aren't here anymore to share their stories because of the size of e-commerce as well. So some of the obstacles on becoming an MSP, again, speaking with customers, one of the biggest ones was the fear in heavy investment, potential billing or monitoring platforms, potential strain on current resources, customers realizing the need to adapt, but just trying to sort of fathom the cost, the potential cost of actually making those changes in their business. Realizing they want to keep up with larger resellers, but being specialists and offering that unique offering where their infrastructure isn't in place today. To put that infrastructure in place, how are you going to get there? Potential out of hours support. Again, more specialist demands, having to train staff on new technologies all of the time. So what are the benefits of becoming an MSP? So we're going to show you over this webinar, there is pretty much little to no investment with Zyxel's Nebula Cloud Platform, and Danny's going to cover that off a little bit more later on today. There are some costs involved to the platform, but pretty much you can offer a complete free service with Nebula. But obviously the point here is to look at how it can be a chargeable service. Giving you the opportunities to expand into new geographical locations. Again, speaking with customers and them sharing their examples, simple stuff like configuring an access point in the box. We use the QR codes via a mobile phone and an app, sending it out to site, and on site there might be a caretaker, security, wherever it may be, that can actually just put this access point in location. So you haven't had to go to site, you've deployed it, and it's part of the infrastructure managed by the Nebula platform. You offer a better quality of service. I'm going to cover that off again later in the webinar. You're actually part of an organization. So if you're contracted to work with an end user customer, you're not just trying to sell them hardware all the time. You're talking about where their business is going and what future deployments need to be made to maybe support the workforce as well. So it gives you a repeatable, scalable business. And again, if they're contracted and you're applying that great service, they're not going to be going elsewhere. They're going to remain with you. And it's also keeping out other resellers coming in and potentially poaching your customer as well. And again, because you're offering a service, you may be wrapping other things in within your service. It removes that battle against e-commerce. Some of the stories I've had from current MSPs today offering Zyxel products and even not offering Zyxel products, I asked them the question about, how often do you discount your service? And most of the replies are never. The packages are the packages. You can review and look at the content within there and work out a value, but a customer may be paying £10, £15 a month for a service, and within that they're getting Wi-Fi to their building, but they also might be getting monitoring, security, threat protection, etc. On there. Is justifying that cost to their business as well. So, but again, like I say, Danny's going to cover more over the whole solution, the offering, but hopefully that just shows you the sort of standard market that we're sort of in today, which sort of brings me nicely onto the ever so strange market that we're in today, or have been, over the last sort of 9 to 10 weeks. We had an impact that hit us, not just us in the UK, but globally, and home working was forced upon us. And here at Zyxel, we're very, very lucky that we were very easy to adapt. I can appreciate a lot of other companies would have that flexibility and be able to switch so quickly as ourselves. And again, the lockdown has meant a lot of different things for different businesses. Only now we're starting to see some businesses come back. Obviously, the retail, hospitality sector really hit hard during this period, especially those not online as well. On-site visits being limited. You know, security was a major concern as well. You're making sure not only do you have enough VPNs for your staff or your end user staff, but also, you know, securing and making sure that, you know, in their own home environment, everything they're receiving is safe. And even with that, it's coming on to the obstacles, you know, not affording to have downtime or work, you know, the workforce are always connected, now dealing with, you know, bandwidth issues, because, you know, I was chatting to one of our colleagues the other day, and, you know, he said, you know, we're going to have to stop this video call because I've got 3 kids playing on the Xbox and they're strangling the bandwidth. So obviously making sure the infrastructure is set up now in new locations like workers' homes, as well. Again, this is going to really shape how businesses move forward, and businesses are going to really review how they are structured. You know, where those have said before we can't do remote working, maybe they will be able to do remote working, but they want to make sure that there's secure networking in employees' homes as well. You know, remote access is essential to managing by the cloud. Again, pre-configuration services, again, for, you know, reduced on-site visits as well, and allowing you to manage and monitor customers' networking is going to be paramount. You know, no one really knows what the new normal is going to look like. I have my views and my opinions. It's not a time for now to share that, but I'll be happy to have a conversation with anyone who wishes to converse in that matter. But there's definitely going to be some changes ahead, and I think, you know, really there's going to be a lot more businesses being prepared for something like this for the future again as well, if they weren't prepared already. So hopefully that's given you a really good snapshot of, I suppose, the general market, and also the recent market that we've had over the last 9 to 10 weeks as well. So again, don't just take my word for it. There is the source files for this information over the next few slides, and it's on the handouts as well. So you can reference and go and view and read about the MSP market globally, across Europe, etc. as well. And again, any of us from Zyxel will be happy to discuss and share further. You know, the more we're investing in this platform and into this market, you know, the more we're learning about the size of the market that we're moving into. So to give you an idea, that the global managed services market is growing fast. It was valued at 186 billion in 2019 globally, and it's expected to grow to 356 billion by 2025. That's almost doubling in a short span of just 6 years. That's huge, massive growth, and one that can't be ignored. 68% of SMBs in Europe, so small medium businesses in Europe, are improving their bottom line. So a much better way of managing overall costs as well. So moving costs from CapEx to OpEx, so budgeting is easier and clearer, and overall costs are reduced. No scary, unforecasted, unexpected costs. Clients can actually, you can use their resources to what they've been hired for, rather than just, you know, supporting IT as well. So it's not a reduction in man hours or people, but a better use of their resource. I've mentioned earlier about being part of the organisation and being part of the future-proofing organisations. You know, making sure the IT performance is always tracking to the best of its ability, and that creates improved user experience and productivity. You know, for any organisation, when you're at the front line and you're face to face, or you're out and about, and, you know, or you've got people coming to site, you want to make sure that your users are up to speed, their experience is good, and productivity will always be at the highest level, and then you just want your staff to be at that highest level as well. And again, the overall lower maintenance in costs. Again, everything being monitored, there's going to be less need for major expenses, and you're actually forecasting for those future costs within your infrastructure as well. And this is probably one of my sort of favourite slides out of the whole webinar and the presentation. Is it shows that 61% of the SMB market hasn't moved to managed services yet. That's a massive audience to address. It really is. So there's 77% that are already an MSP or in the mind space of signing into one. And again, just to reiterate, once a reseller has signed an end user into a contract, then that contract be like for 1 or 2 years. So that reseller is gone. And the services that are being managed and looked after are no longer available for other resellers to come in and tackle that customer offer those solutions, because they're contracted for their IT infrastructure. And it could be the fact that you specialize in one particular area, such as security or threat protection, as an example. But those other customers won't be approachable. So again, it's a huge market that currently hasn't moved to managed service providers, and again a huge market that are either considering it or already in that space as well. So again, just one that cannot be ignored at all. And here at Zyxel, we're not asking you or suggesting that you change the wheel completely. We're asking you to look at your business that it is today and see how you can potentially offer network as a service. And it may mean as you evolve, your offering changes. Today, you might offer hardware, you might already offer services, and you might also offer break and fix. And break and fix can also be within service packages as well. But it's down to you how you want to make the split of your business. There's no right or wrong or good or bad decision. It depends on your infrastructure, how you're set up today, and where you want to go for right now. And again, speaking with some customers, they've changed their models because their customer demand has made them change their models. They've got customers that are security specialists and they define themselves as security specialists, but they started offering full IT services, but they found themselves just moving into that market of security specialists because the demand from their customer and their reseller base was there as well. So I hope that's shared and covered off a lot about the market, the conditions that we're been traditionally in and in now, size of the market to go after, and the type of business model you could potentially run as well, which allows me now to bring in Damien, who hopefully is still there, still awake, Damien?
Oh yes, I'm here. I'm hanging on every word.
So we've got Damien Hodgkinson again. Thank you for hanging on. Director of Stock. I've messed his presentation up, haven't I? So I
already
right on the first slide, and I left off the company name. I got your job title wrong. Well, if you want to take this slide and take it to Stockport and ask for a promotion, then you're more than welcome. So
yeah, if only it worked like that.
So apologies for me messing up the slides slightly, Damien, but would you mind doing a quick introduction to Stockport MBC, pretty much what you do and what you offer?
Yep, no problem. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Damien. I am the software manager and IT development officer for education side of Stockport. My role is to look after a team of technicians and hardware engineers that provide services into majority primary schools, but some of our secondary schools as well. We're quite a small, geographically small local authority. We've got about 100 schools and we look after directly about 80 of those. So we've been putting technicians, up until recently, into some of our schools weekly, fortnightly or ad hoc, doing installations, of networking, of course, but also big screens, advising them how to move forward, cloud-based solutions, new servers, a little bit of everything, really. We tend to sort of take the hand of our primary schools and sort of guide them through as much as we possibly can.
No, thank you for the synopsis, Damien, as well. And I should have said, actually, for everyone joining today, I send the questions out to the guests that we have attending our webinars. So Damien's had the questions for about a day or so now, but I don't know the answers. So I just want to make sure everyone's aware of that. These aren't pre-configured or predefined answers that I'm getting from Damien. They're they're pre-shared questions, but I don't know the answers yet.
If I'm being completely honest, Steve, I haven't read that email either, so it'll come as a bit of a surprise to me too.
Okie dokie. All right, there shouldn't be any curveballs in there, my friend. So let's see how we go. And if
Okay.
mute, it means I cut you. So I suppose, how's business right now over this whole period, and how have you been supporting your schools basically over this period?
Well, right at the very beginning, it was very much a rats leaving a sinking ship when it came to our council buildings. Everybody left almost immediately. I have to say I stayed behind because I find it a lot easier working from the office. And everybody went home and began to provide remote support. We weren't going into any schools, we weren't doing any work whatsoever. As time has gone on and essential work has been allowed, we have started to provide targeted visits to our schools where there've been server issues, business critical things, and we've actually started doing installations again. So we've been putting wireless solutions in, we've been doing some servers, and we've been doing some screen installs as well. Obviously, none of this was the plan, and our team, we're quite fortunate that being an IT team, I think being in IT, you've got to be pretty flexible on a day-to-day basis anyway. So all of my guys were able to go home and still be able to function as if they were in the office. So from that point of view, I think we were very fortunate. We already had those solutions in place, and that made our life a whole lot easier. Our customers, which are all schools, they all found that very difficult. And, you know, we continue to provide support for them over the phone through sort of webinar type, screen connect, you know, remote sharing, and where in the early days, where absolutely necessary, we'd actually put a person on site as well. But yeah, it's starting to ease a little bit now, and we're starting to plan our way back into the schools. It won't be the same as it was before, but it will be in very much the same way that the schools are operating. We will actually create bubbles of technicians. They will only go into certain schools. There won't be so much cross-pollination. So it's all very much see how we go, a little bit at a time. But yeah, we're hoping to get back to, I'm not going to say the new normal, but we're hoping to get back to that as soon as possible, because our schools will start to require more hands-on as they start using areas of the school that they haven't done so for the last 10 weeks.
Yeah, no, it is generally going to be interesting, as you say. I know you don't want to use the phrase "new normal," which is one of the new phrases, isn't it? So, but yeah, it is going to be interesting to see again, just from lots of different verticals and different sectors, about how people go back and how installations are made, etc. as well. And thank you for sharing that as well. It's always good to get an insight into what's really going on out there as well. So it's not a lot you can see from the window view that I've got. So speaking to customers is paramount. So obviously being local council and stuff, how would you normally sort of go to market and advertise? I'm guessing this is normally more demand generation, maybe.
We tend to be, we don't have a budget for advertising. We don't really put out flyers, because we only really want to do targeted work. The people that we want to work with are the people that want to work with us as well. So the majority of our additional work comes through word of mouth, where senior management or school business managers move from one site to another and basically take us with them. We do IT events every so often. We do one a year at the moment, and we tend to do it about 2, 3, 4 weeks after the original Bet show. We used to call it our mini Bet show, but I don't think Bet liked that, so we call it our Stockport IT Technology show. We do invite people from the surrounding local authorities as well. We invite a few other sort of partners, resellers. We invited this time and last time. We invited you guys along as well to put your services out there, as well as other partners such as Google, Apple, and a number of large screen providers, Epson also there, and a few other bits and pieces that was specific to our schools. Any other work like that, we don't do any sort of casting a net far and wide. partly out of, if we got 30 additional people, 1 week saying that they wanted to buy our service, we'd have to ramp up to that. We can take 2-3 people a term without any problems at all. And we know schools generally operate a number of terms in advance. It's quite a slow process, so we're normally ready for it when it comes along. But yeah, if 30 people turned up, as great as that might be a bit of a problem for me.
No, fair enough. I appreciate it. And again, just to feedback anyone will see listening and interested, the events I've been privy to, this year's one was very, very good, and there was good attendance, and the guys fed back. It was a really good event, and great location. Obviously, the Mercedes World in Stockport, Mercedes dealership. Beautiful location, so wonderful cars.
This year was definitely our standout one for venue, but also actually for the partners that we got down there. We did I think we delivered over 100 training sessions, throughout the day on, Google, on networking, on Apple, on some of our school systems like Sims. We had all sorts going on, robotics, building cars, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And obviously Mercedes were very pleased as well, because they've only recently come to Stockport. So they put out, a few little adverts, and, they did a bit of audio visual work for us as well while we were on site. So yeah, it was a stunning, and I'm sure anybody else who does these events, exhausting day.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So why do you use Zyxel? Why do you use Nebula? And what are the main benefits to you and your business?
Well, to be fair, that came out of what we used to use. We used to use, and I feel like I might be treading on somebody else's toes at some point here, but we used to use Netgear many, many years ago. Haven't used them for quite a while. And certainly when Netgear first came to the education market with deals, they were very, very good. And we worked very closely with one of your other members of staff, Chris Buchanan, which I'm sure a lot of people have been dealing with recently. We worked with him for many, many years when we were working through Netgear. And towards the end of, I can't even remember which year. Well, we are going back years now, but basically Netgear took their foot off the gas when it came to the products that we were working on in schools for both networking and the wireless side of things. And it was hard work. It depends who's listening and what experience they have of configuring wireless solutions. But 10 years ago, when we were putting Wi-Fi into schools, it was a really laborious linear process of getting things set up. The advantage now is that I can do it all from my office with an app on my iPad, scan all the devices, set up the infrastructure, set up the SSIDs, set up any other bits and pieces that are associated with that site. And I can send the equipment out to site with our engineers or even school staff on site to do the installation. We do lots of working on rebuilds and building sites. We can actually give this kit to the electricians now and ask them to install it for us, save us having to go on site. And when it comes online, it's already configured. It does save me an awful lot of time. Previously, I would have had to have my guys out on site putting the wireless points in. They would slowly, but not always, show up on the management console. One of my guys would be back in the office fighting with the management console to try and get to see this network point, this wireless access point. If it didn't want to work, we would be hard resetting it. We would be updating firmware, would be changing the IP address again, we'd be putting it back on. It was hard work, and we just accepted that because that was just how it was with the Netgear wireless gear. It's in the end it worked, and it worked quite solidly for a number of years. But a good number of years ago, we realised that whilst it was still working, it was a much older set of technologies to be using in our schools, and our schools had purchased much more advanced wireless devices, and they weren't getting the benefit of these wireless devices performance capabilities out of the infrastructure that we had in our schools. And that's when we really sort of started looking again. by which time young Chris had moved to new pastures, got in touch again, and we started looking at the Nebula product. And to be honest, the Nebula product was the thing that sold it for me. That overview of all my wireless installations, and I've got a few switches on Nebula as well. So being able to see infrastructure within one portal is brilliant. Normally, I would have to log into each and every school and see all these as individual items. But now I can get a great overview of what's going on at my sites very, very quickly, very, very easily.
No, thank you for sharing all of that. It was a really good synopsis, and unfortunately I can't praise Chris on here because it's being recorded and he will just use it over and over again. So I'm glad you've done it. So in regards to say sort of verticals, it's just education that you sell to, and that's it, is it?
It is, yeah. We have done some bits and pieces for other departments in local authorities, ours and surrounding areas, infrastructure-wise, networking and the like. But as a general rule, our department is solely school-focused. Okay,
fantastic. That's absolutely fine as well. Again, a lot of these questions I will ask, try keep them fairly standardised for all the guests that come on as well. And also, you've been sort of tied into local government as well. But I'm not too sure how this answer is going to come out, but we'll ask the question. But so geographically, how has Zyxel's nebulas helped? I know you touched on about guys not going to site and stuff. So I'm not going to put words into your mouth. So yeah, how's Nebula helped you geographically?
Well, it does help us because for many, many years we were very insular. We only worked within our own local authority, and we only looked after the schools that were on our physical infrastructure, and we didn't have control over other people's. We can now go out to other locations, and it doesn't matter what their infrastructure is, who their service provider is for internet and email. These products just go in and work. We don't generally have to ask for additional firewall rules on any of these sites. We can pre-configure the devices here, so we can go further afield. Again, we're very geographically centric here in Stockport. The schools that we do look after that are outside of our local authority are right on the border of other local authorities, but they're right on our border. So in some cases, it's easier to get to those rather than it is to get to one of our own schools. But my guys use the Nebula portal to obviously check, the health of our schools. And if somebody rings up and says they can't get on the internet or something like that, they will check that as a matter of course. Interestingly, we actually found one of our schools had gone down through the Nebula portal before our other services had actually alerted us to it, because when we were looking through our overview, we saw that one of our schools had no wireless access points whatsoever, so they hadn't checked in the last few minutes. We did get, half an hour later, we got an email alert from one of our other systems that lets us know when sites go down, but that was an interesting one. There was nothing physical on site that had gone wrong, but we'd lost our internet connection to that site. So we were able to ring the school and let them know, and they hadn't realized either because they had so few people in. So it's just another one of those tools. It's a nice one to go and have a look at. It's easy to use, and the information it gives us is really useful. Say in this occasion, we're able to get back in touch with our customer and say, we think you've got some issues, give us a call, let us know what's going on. And sure enough, they'd had some power issues on one of their cabinets that looked after the broadband connection. No issues with anything else internally. So I think people who were using on-site services, they were still working. They just couldn't leave the building. And that's how we noticed it on the Nebula platform.
Oh, okay, well, good. Yeah, thank you. Good example. I'm glad I asked the question now, so glad I didn't skip it. No, thank you for that, Damien. And last question as well. Obviously, we're going to let yourself and Danny catch up in a moment as well. So, offering a service, offering a package, how often, does pricing come up in conversation, day to day?
Pricing comes up all the time. All of our schools now have school business managers, and their role is to get best value for absolutely everything. And even the schools that we've worked with for 30 years are giving us a bit of pushback and saying, listen, we've been with you for 30 years. Tell us how you are best value. And be perfectly honest, we operate as a cost center. We're not here to make money out of the schools, but we do have to turn a profit because our business model says that we are self-funding. And we will go through and explain all the advantages of, our support, our model, what we cover, what the externals rarely cover, and how we are, good for our schools. Price is always very, very important. A lot of the time, recently, the only time I can't budge on price really, because we have to be seen as quite transparent, and all our pricing is scalable. Somebody's got to be able to look at it and be able to unpick it if anybody were to, ask a question. The only time I've made any slight changes to prices for our schools is if they're having a lot of other work done as well. I've tended to bundle the installation of any products in with other work so that we're not charging on top of it, and we've tried to combine, visits to do more than one job at a time. We haven't found that we've had an issue with pricing with the Zyxel wireless access points and the switches. They are very competitive, certainly for the specification that we're looking at, because a lot of the switches that we're using with Zyxel are the 10 gig switches. They're excellent. We're putting those into our schools when we upgrade them now. So we've got a 10 gig backbone. We're putting the latest wireless access points in there as well. And overall, the price of those is fine. So yeah, occasionally when I'm being squeezed, it's down to installation. But other than that, no, we're sort of good to go. And we've been putting in. Well, we did 2 installs last week. Once they start to ease the rules a little bit. So yeah, we're not getting any pushback on the actual product. Just our schools are very cheeky, in a nice way, and you want them to be really. You want them to be on it, and they are. So at the end of the day, they've got to justify having to get 3 quotes and get best value. And as a general rule, we always get the work.
No, again, thank you for sharing that. And again, it's interesting again from hearing it from different perspectives and different verticals as well. So generally appreciate for that your views on all those questions as well. So we're going to pop through the presentation, and if obviously you're hanging on, Danny's going to have a little chat with you in a moment, and then we've got Q&A session at the end, and every now and again we get questions directly to the guest. So if you're happy to hang on, then by all means please hang on. Obviously you do need to jump off. That's not an issue at all.
No, that's absolutely fine. I'm good to stay.
Cheers, pal. Thank you. So, right. How can Zyxel help? This is where I move over to Danny.
Right, thank you very much, Steve. Thank you, Damien. So today we're obviously going to be looking at what Zyxel can do to help you in the MSP space. So we've kind of discussed so far what the definition is of an MSP, and we've heard from Damien in real world scenarios how he values the Nebula portfolio. So we're just going to sort of move on and show you a comparison between traditional networking and what Nebula brings to the table. So one of the first things that obviously we need to look at doing is obviously purchasing the equipment. We're not going to be able to get away from that, but there may be some form of leasing options to help spread the cost. And then sort of moving on to that, you've got to install the equipment. Now, this can be quite complex. It involves you getting everything unboxed onto a workbench and manually configuring it all before you actually go to site. And then on top of that, you really want to be looking at monitoring the equipment. So like Damien's alluded to, proactive monitoring is very important. To be able to know if there's a problem before the customer does is key. There are certain standards you can use, such as SNMP, ICMP, and sort of syslog servers, but they can be quite complex to get up and running, and you do need the infrastructure in place to be able to do that. Then we need to sort of set up some form of access to the equipment. Now, for security reasons, I would always advise using some form of VPN or MPLS service. There are other ways which are less secure, such as port forwarding, to be able to access it, but again, that's not recommended. And then monitoring the equipment. So monitoring equipment, again, is very important. Now, there are many tools out there that you can either pay for or free and open source, so such as SolarWinds and Zabbix, both of which take a lot of time and a lot of complexity to actually get up and running. And as you have a look at the bottom, you'll see that the more we go through the puzzle, the investment in man hours and the investment in infrastructure increases. So it's our core value to try and reduce this and make things a lot more simple and a lot more cost effective. Again, with data storage, this can be quite expensive depending on the level of storage you need. You need to buy hard drives, you need to buy servers, or you need to pay a subscription for cloud-based services or data centers. Again, it becomes very costly. And then not to mention, once everything's installed, it's a case of doing a bit of house cleaning, making sure all updates are done, any changes are done in a specific manner so that you don't sort of break anything. So again, this is all down to man hours and infrastructure. And then when it comes to like user and device management after they've actually been installed, you need some form of server, so a radius server or an Active Directory server. And again, this is adding further cost and further complexity to the installation. And then if we move on to what Nebula can offer, so if you keep an eye on the bottom, you'll notice the investment in man hours and the infrastructure to support your clients is massively reduced. So again, purchasing the equipment, we're never going to be able to get away from that, but there may be some ways of spreading the cost, such as leasing options. The installation of the equipment can be massively reduced. So you could set everything up on the portal, and as Damien alluded to earlier on, you can use a QR scanner, scan the box when it's still boxed up and ship it out and let an electrician do it. It can be up and running within 5 and 10 minutes, and you don't even need somebody who's massively network savvy to be on site to get it up and running, as long as they know where to plug it into and how to plug it in. And then when it comes down to monitoring the equipment, this is something we don't need. Nebula has it all built in. It all monitors all the equipment for you, so you can proactively see the health of each and every one of your sites. And this also leads on to the access of the equipment as well. So without the need for VPNs or MPLS services, you can access the equipment through a centralized console where you've got access to all of your sites, all of your organizations in one pane of glass. So very simple to be able to manage them. And then monitoring platforms. So again, because everything's hosted on Nebula, it's a unified network monitoring platform. So it monitors your switches, your security, and your wireless devices, and provides you a very easy to look at view of these. Data storage, again, because Nebula is a free platform, we do offer 7 days worth of storage for free. But if that isn't good enough for you, then we have a Pro Pack feature where you can actually up that historical data to up to 365 days. And we do have the ability to do a syslog server as well, in case you have got that piece of equipment that you just want to hold more than 365 days worth of data. And when it comes to the updates and the settings changes, everything is monitored by Nebula. They know when the new firmware is out, and you can schedule these, and you can schedule certain classifications. So you can schedule your switches to update on one day, your access points another day, and your security gateway, making sure that you can stagger them upgrades, and if there is any issues, you can quickly remedy them. User and device management. Now, we still have the ability to use radius servers and Active Directory servers, because we understand a lot of schools, a lot of industries still need these. So we allow the mechanism to be able to log into that, as well as we do have our own built-in user and device management within Nebula if you don't have them as well. And this can be used for things such as captive portals, which are obviously used in sort of hospitalities, cafes, and restaurants and things like that. So as you can see, looking at the bottom, the investment in man hours and the investment in infrastructure is massively reduced just by coming on board to Nebula and using the platform as it is. And again, it is free to use. If you go to the nebula.zyxel.com, there is an interactive experience demo where you can actually go on to it, familiarize yourself with it, and then if you've got any questions, everybody within Zyxel are always here to sort of help you. So obviously, I'm going to sort of bring Damien back in now and just have a quick conversation, a couple of questions that I'd like to speak to him about. Now, I do know that he's probably answered most of my questions in terms of what network vendor he'd used recently and what sort of challenges he came across and things like that. But what I want to gather is how does Nebula help you, not so much with the installation and the initial deployment, because you've obviously covered that, Damien, on how easy that is, but when it comes to supporting your customers and the troubleshooting techniques that Nebula offers you, I mean, do they make how do they offer your business sort of value in that sort of area?
Well, the majority of it's down to the fact it's all within the one product. If I dial into one of our schools and go and have a look at all the devices in there, you very quickly can see, A, if the device is on, B, if it's off. That's pretty obvious. But actually, we've got a color-coded status down the side, which I can see if our wireless access points are connected at a gig or 100 gig. 100 gig, if only. A gig or 100 meg. And that's one of the things that helps me sort of diagnose if there are any other issues on site. We found that we've got, we've inherited a few cheaper PoE injectors that will only allow us to run at 100 meg. So that, very quickly allows us, when we're replacing old kit with new kit, to find bottlenecks. And actually, it's a nice, clean overview of all the equipment that we've got on site. From a sort of diagnostic point of view, I've got to be honest, we've had very few issues. This equipment, we've replaced basically 20 of our sites up to now with the Nebula and Zyxel wireless access devices. We haven't really had a massive amount of issues. We can see how many devices are on in each of our sites. We can see how many clients are attached to each of those sites. I'm just actually having a quick look at my Nebula platform right now, and interestingly, and this is for 20 sites, so it's 20 schools. Some of them are small schools, some of them are larger schools, and bearing in mind it's quiet, we've got in Stockport we have 2 weeks of the WIT holiday, so we're in our second week of WIT, and we've got very few people in. Over the last day, I've had 1,051 clients connect to our systems and pull 299.69 gig across our Wi-Fi solutions in schools. So a lot of that, when you break it down, are iOS updates that are generally massive, app updates, people using the internet in class for YouTube. A lot of people are watching Joe Wicks at the moment, which seems to be quite a popular thing. So on a quiet day, we're still shifting easily 300 gig across our Wi-Fi networks in just 20 schools. And I just think that's absolutely amazing, to be able to shift that amount of data.
Yeah, definitely so. And obviously being able to retrieve that information so quickly to be able to give you a quick overview of it as well. When you're just looking at it while we're on this webinar, it obviously shows how quick and easy you can retrieve that information. I mean, one of the things Go on, sorry, Damien.
Well, I was going to say, sometimes if one of our schools says, we think our internet's running slow, because we obviously provide their internet service as well. So we might have a school saying, our internet's really, really slow. And let's go on and have a quick look and say, well, actually, you've downloaded across your Wi-Fi 140. So one of our schools yesterday downloaded 145 gig. So they did the lion's share of this. So we can then sort of diagnose that actually a new update's gone out. Apple has decided to release iOS 13.1.1 or whatever it is. So from that point of view, we sort of get around the fact that our internet isn't particularly slow. We've got really good internet connections, but other devices that are out there are very bandwidth hungry.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was having a conversation with one of my customers the other day. He basically said to all his businesses, right, if you're going to go back, I need at least a week's notice so I can do a sanity check on all your networking equipment and everything else. Now, he uses Nebula. They rocked up, started turning computers on. Microsoft wanted loads of updates and things like that. So the only problem he actually came across with during that time was the hardware, which is like PCs, laptops, and things like that. But the network equipment had been kept fully up to date because Nebula doesn't have a holiday. Nebula doesn't go into lockdown. It's continuously monitoring and making sure everything's up to date. So making sure that network and that infrastructure is working 100% of the time, even during downtimes, is crucially important.
Absolutely, and I've got 20 sites all listed on my Nebula, Danny, and they're all green, which is rather reassuring as well. your site's health bar, and it is solid green as well, which is great. So we can see where there's been dropouts in the past. But yeah, we're solid green at the moment, which is great news. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. The system stays up and running, and that's one of the tasks, as laborious as it may seem. That's one of the tasks I've had all my guys doing in our schools, dialing in remotely, turning machines on, leaving them on overnight so that they can do Windows updates. Pulling down all the WSUS stuff, because we know that when people start coming back in anger on Monday, Tuesday next week, they're not interested in Windows updates. And to be fair, neither are we. They're a nightmare. But if they want it ready to go, they want it as if they've just left the building.
That's it, and that's obviously what Nebula give you. It sits there working, making sure it's fully up to date, and offers that 100% uptime, which is something that Zyxel like to maintain. We like to maintain our equipment as 100% sort of uptime if possible. Obviously, internet connections will obviously cause issues when it comes to trying to browse the net, but that's outside of our control. That's something you get involved in, isn't it, Damien?
Absolutely, yeah, that's it.
So no, that's perfect. So thank you for answering my questions on that one. And yeah, it's been a pleasure having you on today.
Nice one. Cheers, Danny. Take it easy.
See you soon.
Yeah, thank you again, Danny and Damien, for that. And I will whiz through the end of this webinar, because I appreciate that the time has moved on, as it always does. But we really do appreciate Damien coming on and sharing his views. Hearing it from a customer is 1,000 times more worth than us selling it. We're paid to say how great our products are. We're just lucky that we've got actually good products to sell and good solutions to sell, and we've got customers that believe in those products and the benefits there. And Nebula is where it is today because of people like Damien that have been helping us test and feedback and request certain features. It's ever evolving, so our involvement with customers using Nebula, if you're on the webinar and you've never used the Nebula platform again, where it is today is because of the customers that we've had working with us on Nebula. This isn't just us sitting in a room saying this is what we need to do. It's constant feedback, and it's never-ending feedback as well. And this is why we're going down this MSP route and offering Nebula as a solution for you to be able to offer network as a service as well. So So I'm just going to literally start wrapping up now. I'll show you the quick benefits of being an MSP partner with Zyxel, and there has been obviously with the whole COVID epidemic, it has put us back. It's put us back in creating solutions within like the licenses. It's also put us back in regards with actually during May we was going to be holding road shows across several sites. And actually coming to site and doing training. So we are adapting and we are trying to put everything together that we can do remotely. And again, road shows may be put back to next year. But what we want to do is be able to still offer you solutions and offers. So the idea is there is compulsory training to attend. We are setting up some online training to get over the line. Once you're certified as an MSP partner, there is a 12% gold partner level discount available on the SMB products, which are the Nebula products. There's going to be MSP licenses coming, and these will be only exclusively to MSP customers as well. We do have pro licenses today, and there's definitely adaptability within those pro licenses to offer out as MSP offerings as well. And we're doing manual pieces on those. We're having conversations with our customers, and we're working on how we can support those for an MSP sort of model as well. So again, we're just adapting as time moves on. Obviously, we've got these webinars. Daniel and Nigel have also been running educational webinars. Our support campus based out in Germany has released a new video today, again, about how you can do your training courses all online as well. And again, the idea is obviously once you attend your training that we offer you the free product set, you get to try it and use it. And obviously you get the dedicated pre and post support from sales engineers. You also get obviously the face-to-face when we can, and obviously you've got any of the account managers or any points of contact contacts. I've had some amazing conversations with customers over this sort of whole period. It generally is nice speaking to lots of different customers over this period and just understand their experiences, and again why they're looking to move to an MSP model, or why they're looking to move to Zyxel. You know, I've had conversations with customers where they've moving away from different vendors and potentially coming to Zyxel, you know, for cost effectiveness. You know, they've been recommended the solution. They've listened to what one of our customers has said on these webinars. You know, there've been lots of different scenarios. So there's some of the benefits. And just to recap again, you know, you're becoming a strategic partner with your customer base. You're part of integrated, and you're offering a value to their business. You're not just supplying hardware to them. You're in conversation with them. You know, you're future-proofing their business. You know, Damien mentioned about, you know, installing 10 gig now, you know, to make sure that when further updates are available and new equipment comes out, the network infrastructure is already built and ready to last, you know, maybe for the next 3 to 5 years. Repeatable, regular, you know, scalable business. You're offering a better quality of service to your customers, improving that relationship. You've got loyalty with your customers, and actually every single customer that has come onto this onto these webinars, the #1 marketing tool that they've all shared is word of mouth. Is actually just by being recommended by another company or another school, or they've done a school and someone's moved from one site to another, and that's how all their businesses have grown. You're not by Google ads, not by you know, flyers or marketing, etc. It has been word of mouth as their #1 tool. So it is built around that relationship, that loyalty, that quality of service that you're providing. It is, you know, a fantastic tool. It's an absolutely brilliant tool. I think even I, as a consumer, if I need something doing and I have to hire someone for it, I will look for recommendations. I think that's just how we are as a nature. You're getting to enhance your services portfolio. You're utilising the resources that you have today, and you're allowing more time for those resources as well. And again, it allows you potentially to offer more than you can be offering today to your customer base as well. Again, potentially expanding your reach, letting geographical locations not define your business, allowing Nebula, like I say, to support your customers far and wide now as well, even globally as well. And again, to remove that battle against e-commerce, you know, offering a service package, putting a cost around their, you know, security, their devices, but also the other packages you may be wrapping around it. It takes away that conversation for e-commerce. It isn't going to disappear. You know, Zyxel will continue to work with e-commerce business and our VAR business and SMB business, and we support with the right products in those right sets. But I say e-commerce is never going to go away, but it's how you offer that service forward to be that differentiator as well. So apologies for taking a little bit longer, but again, I really like the way the conversation's flown. Apologies if people are hanging on there waiting for this to finish. But now we've got the Q&A session. So if anyone's got any questions, they can pop the questions through. We can answer them directly now. If there's any that you're not too sure you've asked right now, you can send an email in later. So Danny, have we got any questions that have popped through at all at the moment?
No, not currently.
No, I can see a few people have dropped off as well, so I appreciate we have sort of slightly overrun as well. But again, I appreciate people have managed to put the hour aside. I tend, you know, we attempt to stay around about sort of 40 minutes or so. We do seem to go over quite a lot, don't we, Danny? We do, but I think on this occasion there's no questions that have been punched through, so if anyone does have anything, there you can obviously ask away. We do have the links, obviously the webinars that have been, the ones on Nebula, Zyxel, across our product sets, and if you do want to sign up as an MSP, there is a link that you can register your interest and sign up, or if you have any questions, you can fire any of the Zyxel team at any point, and we'll be happy to answer those questions for you as well. So again, thank you for everyone attending. Thank you to Danny, and again, special thank you to Damien. for joining us today and sharing your views on Nebula. It's really, really good. Muchly appreciated.
No worries, you're very welcome.
You're
Cheers.
welcome, Steve.
Thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoons, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, see you now.
Bye-bye.